guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Decades Week. Last week I participated in a thing I do every single year called Decades Week. I do it the first week of May. I go from 1990 to 1910. Now I have done, in my opinion, 3 official versions of this year, last year, and the year before. Now, I believe I did do it the year before that, but that one was more of like, I didn't do all the decades. I think I only did 5 days. Now it's gone up to 9 days. So, I go from 1990 to 1910. I didn't do a YouTube video last week because I was so focused on trying to make these looks that I just didn't have time. So, this week, for this video, I'm going to be talking about each look, what I put together, if any of it was actually true vintage or just recreation, and disclaimer, obviously, none of these are going to be perfect. I didn't live through any of these decades. This is knowledge I've gained from online and my collecting of vintage clothes and media, and obviously none of it's going to be perfect, but I tried the best I could. A lot of this I already owned. I think I only bought like 2-3 items for this Decades Week. A lot of it I just had in my collection. So, I tried my best. I started off with the 1990s. Now, the last 2 years, I've done similar looks, so I wanted to change it up just a little bit. I wore a very, they were like, I was going to say a shirt dress. They're not shirt dress. They're very, like a shift dress. They're very, like, they're not A-line. They're, over a white turtleneck, which was a trend. I believe Rachel and Friends wore an outfit similar to this. And you could also wear white turtlenecks with overalls. That was also a common one. Turtlenecks and overalls were like a cool thing. So I put on a white turtleneck with the dress, and it felt a little like it was missing something. So I wore my Hard Rock Cafe jacket, which I think I've worn every year I've done the 90s so far. So, you know, it's a piece that connects. I have bangs, and that makes everything complicated to do any type of hairstyle because I have to have bangs involved, or I have to pin the bangs, or it's just, they get in the way. But otherwise, you have to see my giant forehead, and we don't want that. Now, this look, you can see my giant forehead, so that sucks. I used butterfly clips in a hairstyle that my mom told me about was where you twist the hair back and then you pin it with butterfly clips. So I attempted to do that, but it looked stupid with my bangs down, so I pinned the bangs back. Up close, it was okay. Far away, my forehead looks ginormous. My hairline looks scary. I didn't realize this till I was already done that this was happening. Obviously, I could have tried to have my bangs down or readjust it so my forehead didn't look so big, but I was already done by the time I figured this out, and I was like, you know what? It's not my favorite of the looks for the fact that I don't like my giant forehead, so it showed off my giant forehead. The only true vintage items for this outfit are the glasses. I got them from my mom, and the Hard Rock Cafe. I mean, it's not super vintage, but it's old. Next up was the 1980s. 1980s is one of my favorite decades, so I had a lot of fun with this. Now, for every time I've done the 80s, I always do, usually, a sweater with jeans. Because I know there's different, you know, fashion senses for the 80s, but the sweater jean combo, I don't know, I really like it. The sweater is not vintage, but the jacket is. The jacket is like the iconic, like, blue, purple, pink, like, combo that is like known for 80s, and the jeans are not 80s jeans. They should be a little higher on me, should be a little looser, but they were the best jeans I could come up with for the fit. The earrings are true vintage. They are my mom's, and I curled my hair using pins. It's not the nicest way to curl hair, and it can be quite annoying, but it works, and you know, made me look 80s, so why not? I had a lot of fun just jamming out. 80s is one of those decades I have a lot of clothes for. I didn't really have to buy anything. I just went through my closet and put something together. For the 1970s, I took a red turtleneck with a shorter skirt. I called it a mini skirt, but my sister was like, that's not even close to a mini skirt. I don't like short skirts. Like, if I wear a skirt, which is really only when I dress vintage, I like it knee or lower. But that's a personal opinion. I have boots you know, that go pretty high up my leg. And of course, my favorite jacket that I own, it is a true vintage 1970s jacket from my grandfather. I don't remember when she gave me this jacket, but it is one of my favorite jackets. It's very warm and it, you know, it's my grandpa's. And the hat I am wearing doesn't really match the color scheme I'm going for, but it is vintage, so it's cool. If the hat was like a more brown color, I think it would have looked better with the whole outfit. It's like a bright burnt orange. The skirt is brown, the shirt is red, and the jacket is also brown. So I feel like if it was brown, it would have fit a little bit better. And the glasses that I'm wearing, I got for a cosplay a while back, and I just wanted to pair it with it. It's not a perfect, like, yeah, that melts together well, but they're 70s style, so I was like, well, here we are. 70s was one I struggled with. I literally had to put it together like the night before. I had this plan, and then my plan fell apart, and then I was like, what am I supposed to do? Because obviously I didn't buy anything for this decade, and I was like, what am I supposed to wear? So then I had to like dig through my clothes and start throwing shit and be like, what am I gonna wear? But eventually I was able to put something together that was, you know, not perfect, but hey, I liked it. For the 1960s, I wore a dress that I have worn in the past. I think I wore it back in November. It is a true vintage 60s dress. Some of the coloring has bled onto the other, like, it's a striped dress and the colors have bled through, but honestly it kind of looks cool. So I wore that dress with go-go boots that I was gifted from a fan from my wish list on Amazon, so if you'd like to get me something, you can. And of course, when it comes to 60s hair, for some reason, I always try and do a beehive, and I never can do it. I think it's because my hair is so thin, and it's just, like, doesn't want to work with me. Like, when I curl my hair 50s or 80s, my hair's like, alright. When I try and do a beehive, my hair's like, nah, not happening. So I attempted to do a beehive, and obviously it didn't really work that well, but you can kind of tell that there's a little bit of a higher bump in the back. I got a hairband to try and help with that. I have never once gotten a 60s hairstyle perfect. I'll have to practice, but 60s is not a decade that I dress in often, so it's not something I practice often. 50s curls and 80s curls, that's something I practice quite a few times. So maybe I'll have to get some more practice with my 60s hair. With the 1950s, I went with a beautiful dress that I got at a antique mall, I think a year ago or so. It is red and black. It is beautiful. It makes me look fancy. And I curled my hair, and it looked too 40s. I wanted to make it look 50s. So what I did is I curled it, and then I took, you know, some strands and did this. And that is not completely accurate to how they would have worn their hair, but I thought it looked really cute, and I curled my bangs, but I moved them to one side, and when I had done this, it looked really dumb. So I separated my bangs to like a curtain bang situation, and it curled right here, and I thought it looked really cute. It's not period accurate, I think, but I thought it looked really cute, so I was like, it's alright. And with that dress, I paired it with a pair of heels. Those heels are not vintage, they're just made to look that way, but I think the outfit was very cute. I was like, today's the day. I wore some white gloves to go with the dress, and I was just... Now, when it comes to like 50s, 40s, 30s, even 20s, hats were like a staple for outfits when you were like going out. I did not wear a hat with this look. I was planning to wear a hat, but then it didn't really match the dress, and I was like, eh. So I went without a hat. Even though normally, if I were going out, I would be wearing a hat. Usually the hat, the gloves, sometimes even the purse, like they would all match, which is awesome. For the 1940s, I wore a suit. It is a suit that I've had for quite a long time. It is a skirt with a blazer, and the blazer lost a button. I don't know when it lost a button, because when I originally bought it, it had all of the buttons, and when I went to put it on, it was missing. But it's a really beautiful suit. It's got these two little bows on the front. I was like, oh my god. And it's fitted. Obviously this is not tailored for me specifically, but it was fitted around the waist, which was really nice. It wasn't like a bag, it was more like, ooh, cinch. The suit is not from the 1940s. I believe it's 50s. It is true vintage. I'm just not sure. I'd probably have to do a little bit of research on the brand of suit. So I wore that with a pair of heels. The heels also were not vintage, they were just made to look that way. I only have like 2 pairs of true vintage shoes. A lot of my shoes are just, reproduction. Now, I did wear a hat with this one. The hat does not match the suit. It's a black hat with a veil on it. I thought it looked cool. I was like, oh my god. Originally, I was not going to wear a hat, but obviously, with this decade, a lot of women wore hats. So, I wanted to wear a hat. It doesn't match perfectly, but hey, kind of matched the shoes, so I was like, it's alright. I wore white gloves, of course, and I wore bright red lipstick because during the 40s, a lot of things were scarce and a lot of, because of the war. But I believe I googled this once that Hitler hated red lipstick. So women wore it in defiance of him, and during the day, women didn't wear a lot of, makeup on their eyes. It was more like if they were going out, that they do that, but lipstick was, the centerpiece of their looks. And I did eyeshadow regardless. I guess I was going out for the night, because I wanted to, and I was like, why not? For the 1930s, I also wore a suit. This was more, instead of something you'd wear at an office, it's like something you wear at a funeral. Now, the suit is from the 1950s. I got this at an antique mall, but I don't have a lot of 30s clothes. I wore a dress last year that was literally stunning, and but I didn't want to wear the same outfit. My goal each decade week is to wear different stuff. I don't want to wear the same outfit every year. I want to change it up. So this year I wore a black suit, has a blazer and a bottom, and it's more, it's thinner fabric, but it makes me look like I just murdered my husband. I wore a big hat because in the 30s, big hats were popular. Now, obviously, the 30s was when the Great Depression hit, so my outfit is not accurate to everyday women, because most of them didn't have money for makeup, for big hats, for things like that. Mine's more of a stylized look. My biggest issue with this look is the thin eyebrows. I had to do this a few times throughout this decade's week, and I hate myself with thin eyebrows. I look really stupid because I have a ginormous, as I said earlier, forehead. So when I have thin eyebrows, it makes my forehead look huge, bigger than it already is. And obviously, in a few of the TikToks, you can tell that you can see my eyebrow hairs underneath, because normally when I cosplay, I just color in my eyebrows. They're never twins. They're always sisters or distant cousins. They're never the same because my eyebrows are very light. It should match my hair. It doesn't. If I have to do a look where I have to, part my bangs, I have to color in my eyebrows. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to see them, and I'm going to look stupid. So I did not shave my eyebrows for those looks, obviously because I would look even more stupid. Obviously because I wear bangs, people probably wouldn't have noticed, but I would have known. So in those TikToks, you can kind of still see my eyebrow hair because I just drew a line. I could have, put on foundation. I could have done things to hide the eyebrows, but I just didn't care. So there's that. Speaking of thin eyebrows, 1920s and 30s, this was a very popular trend. They started to get thicker, the higher up you go. The last 2 years, I have done flapper looks. With the dresses that I have used, they're not quite accurate. Flappers were a thing, but they didn't really wear the costumized flapper dresses that we all know. So I decided to go for something more accurate to the decade. The shape of women's dresses in the 1920s was boyish. They had, big hats, not like wide hats, but hats that, woo. And so I wanted to go for that look. This dress I did have to buy off Amazon. It's not quite accurate. I think the sleeves are a little too big. I think the dress had too much of an A-line for it to be perfect 1920s. But I wanted to do something, more like everyday 20s rather than flapper girl. But these shoes were true vintage. And I got them at a estate sale, and they were a little uncomfortable, but they fit, and I had a lot of fun with them. They weren't perfect, 20s shoes, but they were the closest thing I had to 20s shoes. But those were the only true vintage part of the outfit. I wanted to do Marcel waves for my hair, but I just didn't have the time. I didn't have the tools for it. And so I just took a headband and did what I did for the last 2 years with my flapper girl hair, where I kind of wrap my hair around a headband. It worked. It's not perfectly accurate. I'm hoping that I can get, they have these metal clips that help you with this. I want to try and do Marcel waves at one point, or another. I have long hair, which kind of is hard. Obviously, you could, pin your hair up and then do the Wausau waves here. I hope to do it at one point. I just wasn't able to do it for this one. And finally, the last look of Decades Week was 1910. Now this dress, costume, I bought on Amazon because I don't have a lot of 1910s clothes. I would like to get back into sewing, so maybe I can make some, but I've kind of like fallen off the sewing wagon and haven't sewn anything in a very long time. I'm hoping to get back into it, so we'll see. So this is a costume. It is a full-on costume. The top is as close as I could get with this. I didn't want to spend a fortune, and True Vintage would be like, ha! So you gotta get recreation stuff, and some recreation brands are just like $200, and I don't got money for that. I bought this costume for like $50. The skirt was really pretty. I really liked the skirt. The shirt kept like riding up, and it was like elasticy, which I didn't like. But the pin that I am wearing right hither is True Vintage. It's not from 1910. I think it's from the 50s. But I have a lot of pins. I even have a necklace of silhouette jewelry. I just think they're really cool. So I put one of those on there. So that's vintage. The hair is also not completely accurate. I'm hoping to get some things so I can do like a Gibson girl, look at one point. My plan is to plan ahead and be like, what do I want to do? And try and collect stuff before Decades Week. Because for Decades Week, I was like, oh no, what am I going to wear? And a lot of it I just took from my closet. I didn't want to wear stuff that people have already seen. Now, obviously, a few of the things in the Decades Week are things I wore last year or just throughout the year since I do dress vintage randomly. But I wanted to do something where it's like, no one has seen this stuff yet. And I'm hoping next year I can do that with every single look where I'm like, all right, what am I going to do for 90s through the 1910s where people haven't seen it yet? That's my hope. I guess we'll see next year what happens. But I have a lot of fun with this every year. I do this during October for Goretober, and last year I did one during Christmas time where I did like 12 days of Christmas cosplays, which was suggested by a fan, and I had a lot of fun with that, and I'll probably do that this year as well. I kind of like having the challenge of, alright, this week I have to dress up every single day with a different look, and I really like it. And obviously I love to dress vintage, I love to collect vintage, and so getting to like create looks is a lot of fun. It's a little stressful because I'm like, what do I wear? Oh my god, ha! But I try my best. Obviously, none of these are perfectly accurate. I did my best with what I had, and I think they turned out really well. If you'd like to see the TikToks and photos that I have posted, go on my Instagram and TikTok, and you can see all the glorious content I created with these looks. Obviously, if you would like to see the looks from last year, the year before, I think I have videos, I don't know, playlists somewhere, where you can watch the other two videos where I kind of explain what each look that I did during Decades Week. I hope to do this again next year and up the ante. Every year, let's up the ante. Woo! Maybe I'll actually do a good beehive this time. That's my hope. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll be back again with another one next week. Alright guys, I'll see you later. Whoosh.